Alrighty then. Hello everybody. It's Adhi giving the long-awaited Mahjong tutorial. So we're here in a Mahjong client called Riichi City, but this Mahjong tutorial will cover if you play Riichi Mahjong in Riichi City or Mahjong Soul or Tenhou. Those are all online clients. If you are looking to play in Yakuza, this is the same exact game. It's just Japanese Mahjong. And then Domon Mahjong in Final Fantasy XIV is the exact same thing. It's just like reskinned because Doma is meant to represent Japan in Final Fantasy, so it's the same thing. The exact same stuff that you learn here is applicable across all those platforms. So we're gonna do this first video, which is the tutorial and how it works, because Riichi City has like a really good tutorial. It has good visualizations and stuff like that that some other online platforms don't have. So we're gonna go through this one. And then after that, there will be a second video. I'm going to play 3 fast, sort of like what are called East-only rounds, and we'll learn what those are. But 3 of the sort of like half games of Mahjong. And I'll go through and I'll explain all of my thoughts behind all the moves that I'm making and the different things that go into playing Mahjong. So with that said, looking in here, in the settings for a lot of these places, a lot of the tiles, you can see like without the markings, maybe you don't speak Chinese or Japanese, so you don't know that this is a 1 and this is a 9, or that this is like a 1 of bamboo, but for whatever reason it's designed like a peacock, or that these are cardinal directions, or like whatever, right? So what you can do is just every Mahjong client has tile marks and stuff like that. So in the top right corner, it'll tell you this is a 1, this is 9, right? East, south, west, north, all that sort of stuff. So it'll make it a lot easier as we go through and explain things. And as you get used to playing Mahjong, you'll just learn things over time and kind of like get more used to it. But just know that this option is here in like pretty much every client. So let's hop right into the tutorial. And this is the default character. Your game mat is not going to look as cool as mine. This is from a recent collaboration with Light Chorus Recoil. Pretty solid anime if you haven't seen it. But this owl, his name is Dora. And that name will make sense in like 10 minutes. But for now, we're just going to learn some of the basic rules of Mahjong. So you have this column right here of like the 3 main suits, Mon, Pin, and So. People in the West, so like globally, in like America and Europe and stuff like that, they'll call them characters, circle tiles, and then bamboo tiles. And so you'll hear people refer to things like that a lot. And then the ones on the right, the ones that aren't number tiles, those are called honor tiles. And so those are split into winds, which are cardinal directions, and then dragons. And the dragons are white, green, and red, and you can tell which ones are like white, green, and red just based on the color that's on them, right? We'll get into exactly how you combine all of these different tiles and all that sort of stuff. The main thing to know is that there's 4 of each tile somewhere, basically in the deck. If you think of it as like a traditional card game, each tile is just a card, right? So there's 4 of each card, and there's like 136 cards in the deck. That deck is shared by all 4 of the players, and everybody is working to try and complete a hand of 14 tiles overall. And this tutorial will help us understand sort of what that is. So if you're thinking of your hand as 14 tiles, you have 4 sets of 3 and then a pair of 2, right? So it's like 4, 3, 2, 1. You need 4 3s and a 2, and then you've won, right? So nice little thing to remember there. But in this hand, we have a 7, 8, 9 of circles, right? And so you can look at them, there's 7 circles literally on the tile. And because we have that thing turned on, there's a 7 in the top right corner. So all 4 of your sets of 3 can be sequences. All of them can be triplets, like we have 3 3s here in this hand. And then you can also, you need 1 pair. So that's 2 identical tiles. In this hand, we actually have 2. We have the 2 8 of bamboo and then the 2 green dragons here. With this hand, eventually, we'll probably try and look to upgrade one of these two things to a triplet to try and finish our hand here. But now that we know the tile categories, let's move on to see how we can actually win the game. There are a lot of different ways to win the game, and we'll go over that in this tutorial a little bit. But there's only a few win conditions that you need to know to like start getting used to Mahjong and stuff like that. And really, there's only one. And so there will be a part of this tutorial where I will very clearly shout out, this is the point where you need to pay attention, like this is the one that matters. But moving on with this. So you start out with 13 tiles, which are the ones here, and then like the space in between is the 14th tile. That's the one that we draw from the deck. And so whenever we draw that tile, we can either keep that tile and then discard something else that's in our hand that we don't need, or we can just discard the thing that we draw if we don't need it. And so you're replacing tiles until you get to a point where you're one tile away from winning. So if you draw that tile, you win, or if someone else discards that tile, you win off of them, and you get all their points. If you draw the tile, you take points from everybody. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Maybe I'm a little bit ahead of myself. But we draw and discard just like one tile at a time here. So right now we're going to discard this 9 because it doesn't fit into our hand, right? We have a finished shape of 3. We have a triplet. We have another finished shape here with the 7, 8, 9. And then we have 2 pairs. We're going to need one of them, right? And then this 2, 3 is actually really nice to have because we can sit here and wait for either a 1 or a 4. We have like a double-sided weight that can finish this as a sequence. So we're going to get rid of this 9 because it just doesn't fit, right? And so this is where our discards go, right here. And this is where everybody's discards go. You can see like kind of like in front of you is where they go. A big part of Mahjong is reading people's discards and stuff like that. That kind of gets like into the advanced areas, but just in the future, just know that that's the case. So as I've been saying, sort of, we have 4 sets of 3 and then a pair, right? And so the important thing about these sequences, about these pairs and the triplets, is that they all have to be in the same suit. So, or like every tile within a 3, right? So 1, 2, 3 of characters, 4, 5, 6 of circles, right? You can't have like a 4 of circles, a 5 of characters, and a 6 of circles, right? It has to be all circles in that sequence. Cool. Same for triplets. So it's just 14 tiles. Winning hand is a 14 tile hand, right? And so if you're in something called Tenpai, Tenpai means that you are 1 tile away from winning. It's just like the Japanese word for that. So in here, we have like all 5 of these shapes, right? This is called 5 block theory. This is our hand just deconstructed. We have 3, blocks of 3 completed, and we have a pair. And now we have that 2-sided weight that I was talking about, right? So once we finish this with either a 1 or a 4 of bamboo, we're going to win. So now we're in Tenpai. So what tile should we discard, right? Well, south wind doesn't fit anymore, right? Because we want to wait on this 1, 4. So we're going to discard that. And now in online Mahjong, like clients and stuff like that, they'll give you this exclamation point over here. And if you click on it, it'll tell you what you're waiting on. In this case, we're waiting on the 1, 4 of bamboo. And so we're waiting. And, oh, this guy's an idiot. They decided to discard right into me. So we can tap Roam. And so it's not Ron Weasley. Sorry to burst your bubble there. But this is what we say, like, whenever we win off of somebody else's discard, is Roam. And it's a different word for whenever we draw a tile. And we'll get to that in a minute. So let's break this windscreen down a little bit. Ignore the anime girl. So Hatsu is 1 Han. Han is like anytime that you do something that is worth value, you get a Han. So Hatsu is the Japanese word for the green dragons here. So because we have a triplet of the green dragons, that is worth a point. Like having a triplet of any dragon or having a triplet of certain winds, and we'll get to that in a second, is worth 1 Han. Like there's different things that are worth Han, and we'll like cover that in a little bit. Also, I was the dealer. So I get 1.5 times the amount of points from a very simple hand. So I ended up getting 2,400 rather than the normal lesser version. So, and I won off of this person specifically. So they're the only person that has to pay out points. These people stay at their starting 2,500. I won! Who would have thought? And now we go into the second tutorial. All right, so we can look at how the table works. You saw the little animation for the dice rolling in the middle of the table. That dictates like who, well, in real life, it like dictates who's dealer first. It also dictates the thing up here. This is called the dead wall. So we have like walls of characters that's most visible over here. This is the deck, right? So in real life, whenever you are like picking up from the deck and stuff like that, this is where you draw from. And then this little break in the wall right here, that's where like you run out of tiles to draw from. And so like you technically, there are 134 tiles in the deck, but there's only so many that are like gonna actually be used, if that makes any sense. So there's like that level of like, okay, I know that there's like 4 of each tile like in the game, and I can like count on that most of the time. But if there's like, if I'm waiting on like something that people have already discarded twice and I need one more of that tile, there's a possibility it's in the dead wall, right? There's like no like discernible chance that I'm actually gonna win, like all that sort of stuff. So that's a part of the whole thing. So looking at the table, this says East 1, right? And so a game of Mahjong has East, South, West, and North players. So this is actually something that I learned recently, is that the reason why it's not like in literal cardinal direction, right? Because like if this is north and this is south, then east would actually be over here, like on a compass. There's actually different Asian cardinal directions that are like traditional in China, and it has to do with like spring is east, south is summer, because like it's warmer in the south, and then west is fall, and then north is winter. So it has to do with that. It's not actually like cardinal directions. But we move in this counterclockwise direction. So you remember I was the dealer last time, and it's moved over to this guy, Kana, over here. Typically what would happen is that if I'm the dealer and I win, I would stay the dealer for the purposes of the tutorial. They keep it moving. But in an East-only match, everyone will get the chance to be the East wind, the dealer, once. So I'll be the last dealer as it comes around, basically. So because it's the East round, that means that the East wind, which we have in our hand right now, is the prevailing wind. So how we had a triplet of the green dragons in the last hand, and that was worth 1 Han. If we get a triplet of the East wind, then that is also worth 1 Han. Differently though, we have a South wind in our hand. That is not currently worth bonus points for us because it's the East round. And also, we are not in the South seat, we're in the North seat. So if we happen to get a triplet of the North wind, then that would also be worth 1 Han, stuff like that. There's some rules like that. But there's 4 rounds in an East-only match. This 69, nice, represents the number of remaining tiles to be drawn. So the wall, right? And when it drops to 0, the round ends, basically. Whenever it reaches 0 tiles and like no one deals into each other and you don't draw your winning tile, if you're in Tenpai where you're 1, tile away from winning, you flip your hand up and you're like, hey, I was ready to win, buddy. And then anybody who, hasn't got like a ready hand has to pay the people that do have a ready hand. And so it's like 3,000 points overall. So if only one person shows that they were in Tenpai, everybody else pays 1,000 to that player and stuff like that. If all 3 people, if like 3 out of 4 people were ready, then one person has to pay 3,000. That makes sense. So this is like our life total right here. The 25,000 is what you start out with in all the like online Mahjong stuff. As you win and lose hands, you will gain and lose points. This is our seat, wind, which I already covered. We're north. And then this is the wall. This is the deck, right? Over here, in the dead wall, you may have noticed that this guy is flipped over, right? So this is called a dora indicator, and what a dora is, it's not an explorer. A dora is like similar to the green dragons, where with the green dragon you need a triplet of it, and then that is worth 1 Han. Just one dora tile by itself is worth 1 Han. They're very high value, very expensive, very important to play around. This is the dead wall, right? So these tiles, as we said, aren't in the game, right? You can't like get them. So this guy's flipped over, meaning that this can't be a dora tile because it's not in play, right? So the 5 is flipped over, meaning that the next one up, whatever the next up from 5 is, which is 6, the 6 of characters is the dora. The 6 of characters is worth more points if you have them. So if you have 1 6 of characters, it's 1 Han. 3 6 of characters, it's worth 3 Han. All that sort of stuff. It also counts as like a triplet in your hand. All that sort of stuff. You want dora, and you want to try to keep yourself from discarding them as much as possible, because if you discard a dora and someone else wins off of it, you give them a lot of extra value in their hand, that sort of thing. So we have a little timer here. This is very common on online Mahjong stuff. So we have to decide, oh, what do I want to discard? It's forcing me to do the white dragon. So far, we've only seen a hand that's closed, right? We've only drawn our things. We haven't stolen things from other players. But you can steal things from people's discards. So if anybody discards something that you have a pair of, then you can call Pulm. You'll hit the button, and it comes over here. And you'll notice that we stole it from the person to our right. So this guy is kind of like flipped out to the right to designate that. And everybody here can see what we stole, right? So this is called an open hand, right? So we're going to discard the East Wind. And, oh, well, this person to the left of us has discarded a 4 of bamboo, and that completes our 2-3. So I would like to complete this sequence. So I can steal from their discards and call Chi. You can only call Chi from the person that is like the person to your left. You can't call it from anybody. So that's a limitation there. Also, if you call Chi on one tile and someone at the same time calls Pulm, the Pulm always wins. So sometimes you'll get robbed a little bit. It's a whole thing. Online clients will handle that automatically, so it's not something to worry about. Now here, we already have a triplet of the 6 of circles. And now, normally, I would say, do your best to never hit this purple button. Never hit con. It's kind of a meme. So you can make a meld of 4, like a quad, right? Which is called con. You'll see what it does here. So we called con. And now up here at the dead wall, you'll notice that another dora indicator was flipped over, right? So the 2 of circles is now worth Han if it's in your hand, right? So how important it is to play around dora, and how scary it is if your opponent has dora and all that other sort of stuff, right? Whenever you con, you add more dora to the game. So it makes the game more explosive and certainly more exciting, but like it makes it additionally terrifying to like deal into other people, because they might just like you can get taken for over 25,000 points. So like the game can end. So just like straight up, just warning. I've seen it happen. So being this tutorial, as crazy as it is, let's try it. Why not? So they're forcing us to win here. So you'll notice that the tiles that were here have now disappeared. So whenever you call con, the thing gets flipped over, and then you draw from the dead wall. That's the only way you can get dead wall tiles. And so we've actually won off of our draw, which is called a Tsumo. And the tile that we've drawn from the dead wall is our winning tile, which is called Rinchan Kaiho in Japanese, which means like a lotus that blooms on the mountain. It's very poetic and something that is like in real life very rare and all that sort of stuff. So like just like trying to get across like how rare of a thing that is. So don't go for that, but you know, it's possible. So all right, the anime girl next to us is claiming that she's gonna win. But now we're going to go over Yaku, which are win conditions in Riichi Mahjong. So right here we have like a triplet, a sequence, another triplet, and a pair. So the only other thing that we need is another sequence with our 6-7. So we can wait on a 5 and we can wait on an 8. But the issue is we don't have any Yaku. As I was talking about before, you can see we're in the south, or sorry, the west seat. This north wind triplet isn't a Yaku. It's not our seat. It's not the prevalent wind, right? This south wind, same thing. It doesn't count, right? We're going to have to find a way to find a Yaku. So this crazy little guy decided to con for whatever reason, which again flips over a dora indicator and they drew from the dead wall. And so this is what's called a closed con. We called open cons the last time. In closed con, you can still do what we're about to do. When you're in Tenpai and you have a closed hand, specifically only whenever you have a closed hand. So you can't call chi or pawn or like con from somebody else's discards. When your hand is closed and you're in Tenpai, you can call Riichi. And Riichi is really powerful in a lot of different ways. It can also be a weakness and some, there's a lot of theory. But we've drawn this one. It doesn't fit into our hand. And so we can call Riichi and discard this, and it'll slide sideways like a super cool guy in an anime. And then this little stick here is saying, here's 1,000 points. I'm putting my dick on the table. I'm betting you that I'm going to win. And so this idiot was like, he doesn't have a 5-8 weight. Well, we did. And they decided to deal in. And so we did our bet. And you can go around 1, 2, 3, 4, like the first go around, right? That if someone deals in or you draw your tile on the first go around without anybody like calling any cheese or pawns or whatever, then it's worth bonus points, which we'll see here. So we're calling Rome because we're winning off of somebody else's hand here, or somebody else's discard. And so we have Riichi, which is a Yaku in itself, and then Ipats, which is like not something you can technically like win off of inherently, but because it was the first go around, that's where that comes from. And then right here, the Uradora are like in the dead wall. You saw that these were flipped over. These are the tiles that are on the bottom of that stack. And so you flip these over if you call Riichi. This is like a potential bonus points, right? So if I had 2s of bamboo in my hand or 3s of characters, I could have gotten bonus points there. So now the 3 is the dora indicator, meaning that the 4 is dora. And so underneath this is where those Uradora are. So the one directly underneath that 3. Ooh la la, this will make perfect for a Tanyao hands. Okay, remember how I mentioned that there's like one thing that you really got to pay attention to in this tutorial to start playing Mahjong? Here we are. We're at it. We're doing it. All right, this is Tanyao. This is something in English. It's called all simples. And so you'll remember that all the tiles go 1 through 9 in the numbered stuff. So get rid of all the honor tiles. Get rid of all your dragons and your wins and stuff like that. And then the ones in the 9s, those are called terminals because they're on the end, right? It's 1 through 9. They're on the end of the sequence there. Get rid of those. Oh, only use 2 through 8 in your number tiles. And that is in itself a Yaku. It's very easy to do. It's very fast. This is explaining exactly what I was just saying. So if you want a little visualization, here you are. But, so yeah, we're just going 2 through 8 and nothing else. So we're going to get rid of all the stuff that we don't want. So very common beginner strategy for playing Mahjong. I sit down, I look at the things that aren't 2 through 8. Maybe I don't even know how to, look at this and say like, oh, that's a north. Doesn't matter. You know what it's not? It's not 2 through 8. I'm getting rid of it. You know what I'm saying? No think. That's not 2 through 8. Me get rid. Doesn't matter. Right? Oh, look how fast and easy that was. Cool. Tsumo. Right? Perfect beginner strategy. Some places, some parlors in Japan will straight up ban that because it's too easy. But online, it's totally allowable. So, yeah. So we had Tanyao, which is the all simples thing. And then we had a 4 and the 3 was pointing to the 4 there, right? So we get a point for the door. And we won. So why does this person pay 1,000? Okay, so we talked about it a little bit earlier. I won off of a character tile that I drew myself, so everybody has to pay me. I won 2,000 points, and so the dealer incurs a penalty where they win 1.5 times the amount of points, which is really nice, but they also have to pay out like double. So these people lost 500. This person lost 1,000. So that's that. Now we are in all last, which is like the last thing. So I'm the last dealer, right? So we go one around, right? And so this is, they speed it up. They go after 8 turns. Here's where we are, right? And this is where the tutorial gets a little out of hand. They're kind of being silly. So we've seen pretty small hands so far, right? Like 2,000 points ish. They're like, hey man, you should try and go for higher scoring hands. And as a beginner, you should just aim to complete any given hand, right? There are hands that are like worth a buttload of points, right? And so they're going to kind of show that off here. One of the things that they're talking about here is something called honitsu in Japanese. And what that just means is half flush. So if you have a hand that is all of one suit in the characters, or sorry, the number tiles, in this case we have all these circles, and then you have some honor tiles that complete a shape, then that is a half flush. That's worth 2 han. So like 2,000 points just like by itself or whatever. And so we're getting rid of all of the things that aren't circles and all the things that aren't honor tiles. And now it's like, well, man, we have like a whole lot of circle tiles and not a whole lot of honors. So like maybe we could go for like a full flush in, this here circle tile suit. And again, when it's not a circle tile, I don't want it. It's more complex than that, honestly. But, not a circle tile. And I have the chance to call Riichi. Therefore, I shall. And this is a made-up situation. This never happens. Don't believe what you see here. But rather than like a double-sided weight, we have a 9-sided weight here. This is what is known as the true 9 gates, which is anime as hell. This is something that's known as a Yakuman, or in this case, I guess a double Yakuman, I believe. So a triplet of the 1s, a triplet of the 9s, and then everything in between. We get our special little animation of like, oh my god, we did a thing. And so this is true 9 gates, which is a double Yakuman. And it's 96,000 points because screw everybody else. And it's so powerful, it drains everybody of all their points, and we win. So if you want to win at Mahjong, just do that. I have no idea what we're supposed to learn from that, other than there are some monster hands in Mahjong. If you choose to play on Riichi City, I think they have like a really good tutorial and all that sort of stuff. Part of what they have, I think. Yeah, I don't know where it is. It might not be around for me anymore, but they have like a little beginner thing where they have like beginner missions and quizzes and stuff like that, and you get free rewards and all that stuff for like learning the game and like doing a little bit more like tutorial missions and stuff like that. So this is a really good way to learn if you like want to like get into it and stuff like that. But next up, we're gonna play some Mahjong matches in Final Fantasy and Riichi City and Mahjong Soul. So let's do it.